So I don't know if my ad-libbing trying to say this is the right thing or not, because it's a very, very, very sensitive subject. But when people talk about the, pardon the term, greatness of America, I do believe there was a period, the frontier period, where those participating had to dig down deep to find their most profound desire to live in order to survive. Because in that phase of going out into an environment like this, and not discounting or disrespecting the people who were already there, but you were dealing with objective reality every second of every day. And I believe that during that brief period, that those people who did that really brought up out of themselves a deep part of what it means to be human, what it means to be part of a living, thriving ecosystem. And that's pertinent because obviously the people who are already here, the indigenous people, knew that. I mean, they didn't know any other way. They were still in the Garden of Eden. They didn't have that separation from nature that the Europeans had. And the Europeans had it for, a couple thousand years. And so the context of being part of an ecosystem had been bred out of their psyche from generations of either being part of, a gentry that got everything handed to you, or the 98% that had to struggle for everything. But when they crossed the pond and came here, those human beings who had that, cultured out of their psyche over the millennia, had to dig down deep and find it again. Not just skills, but the desire to live, the drive to live. You can't walk out into an environment like this, okay, and just kind of hope to make it, or hope to live, or hope a sandwich falls in your lap. You've got to really want to live. You've got to have the desire to survive. That's the key ingredient. And that's something that the Europeans had lost. And it's something that we've lost today for the most part. When life is so goddamn easy for so many of us. And putting food on the table, you're giving your energy and desires and passions to other people in exchange for fiat currency that you then go exchange for shit that's supposed to nourish your body. Oh, I don't mean to preach. I'm getting off on a tangent, I know, but there's got to be a way that we can continue to embrace the better parts of contemporary society and regain our connection to the ecosystem. There has to be a way, you know? And I believe the most important aspect of that is deep down inside of each of us. There's this burning desire to live, regardless of what our situations or our conditioning or our certain circumstances may say to the contrary. Think of it as just a single atom, you know? An atom is energy. It's a bundle of energy. It's a thriving bundle of energy. And you're nothing but a bunch of atoms, you know, that somehow coalesced into this being, this entity that developed the capacity to doubt and fear. When we talk about, I'm really about to get preachy now, but when we talk about God created the heavens and earth and the Garden of Eden, obviously that's parable, but it's telling a real profound truth. When we realized that, or before we disconnected our minds and ourselves and our subconsciousness from this beautiful, incredible, wonderful ecosystem, everything was there for us. Everything was there for everybody. But then part of self-awareness is self-doubt and fear. And instead of being connected to this incredible ecosystem, we feel disconnected. And because of that, we feel disconnected from one another. And because of that, we feel like, oh my God, if I don't take this piece of land, then they're going to take that piece of land. And if I don't cut down this tree, then they're going to cut down this tree. And if I don't hoard this natural resource, then they're going to hoard this natural resource. And it's a clusterfuck of death that we've been in for the last 12,000 years. By that I mean Western civilization. In a way, the indigenous peoples who lived here before Europeans were the last civilized group of human beings on Earth. Because to them there was no 98%. To them there was no, this is mine, that's yours. To them, you lived and died and thrived or perished of your own volition. But we've lost that. and we killed them in the process. And we've been on this trajectory that is absolutely unsustainable. And if you don't believe me, just sit down one day at the kitchen table and write down, like, just go back 2,000 years and look at how similar and the same life was for generation after generation after generation, and look at the population, global population, and look at the levels of technology, and look at how people lived and died. And what you're going to see is that starting 200 years ago, there became this massive acceleration. And then when you get to the time of the Civil War and the technologies involved with killing one another, there was another leap. And then World War I and II, and leap and leap. And the space race, and a leap. And the commercialization of our food systems, and a leap. And some of those leaps have taken us in the right direction, but not entirely. And along the way, we're becoming more detached from one another, and we're becoming less concerned with one another, and we worship celebrity and fame and money, and turn our nose up at people sleeping on the streets like it's their goddamn fault. And nature, the nature that's in us, can't survive that. And we won't survive that. Again, I apologize for being preachy, but this is something I've been pondering for 20 years. And while part of me understands without a doubt that we have the ability to overcome our ignorance, part of me understands that it's not going to be easy. We didn't evolve this level of awareness and intelligence to simply burn out, to wipe ourselves out, to destroy the planet in the process. But I can guarantee you that the planet is not going to let us kill it. That nature is not going to let us destroy it. That life is ultimately going to prevail with or without us. And on one hand, that's a beautiful thing to think about. But when you're here, when you're in it, when you're involved, when you're a part, when you see every day proof of our failures and proof of the correction that's coming. When you see people trying to politicize contagions and viruses, when you see people trying to claim that reality is merely an extension of their perverted perceptions, then you know that cannot persist. In a way, I'm glad to be here and living in this time, and in a way, I can't say I'm scared, but I'm not real happy about it, because I would love to think, and I've long hoped, that there was a way to reach out and caress someone's soul and say, you know, it's going to be okay. But after 28 years of constantly trying, I have yet to figure out how. I do know that people talk about brushes with death being wake-up moments, so we can hope for that. But getting back to the molecule thing, the atom thing, every single molecule of your being wants to be alive, regardless of what some stupid firing synapse inside your skull tells you. Every ounce fiber of your being wants to be alive. All you have to do is quiet the echoes and let it. I don't know where we're headed. I've had visions of where we're headed. But the one thing we can know for sure is that this is where we'll find the answers. We created God in our own image and granted ourselves dominion over the earth, and we're proving entirely unworthy of both.